Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight we'll be doing another class in our series of classes on Aquarius ascendant and Saturn in the different signs. Tonight we'll be doing Saturn in Capricorn, and it's a very interesting combination. And I'll tell you why, because Saturn in Capricorn is actually, it's an honor. Right, Saturn's own sign is Capricorn, so it's what we call a double Capricorn. And the person who has it as the ruling planet is going to be very person who cares about number one, cares about himself. The main thing is himself, because he's got this ruling planet in honor, so he never gives himself up to another person. He's always true to his way, whether it's the good way or the bad way. But he's true to his own way. He follows his own beat, and so that's what we're going to look at tonight. And when you have even though it's an honor, though it's really a double malefic, because you got Saturn and Capricorn there. Saturn's a malefic, and Capricorn is also malefic. So there can be a lot of negative energy there, even though that it's an honor, because it's too much. The two great enemies, are the too much and the too little. So here you got too much Saturnian nature. The person can be very, can isolate themselves, especially where it's going to be in the 12th house. A person has a tendency to isolate themselves, to be a loner. Likes to think a lot. It's good for a writer, right? A person who likes to be alone and to write, and but it's just too much. It's too much Saturn. And when you have the ruling planet in the 12th, it can be difficult, because the 12th house is the house of enemies. Right, it's the house of hospitalization. It's the house of illnesses, long-term illnesses. So it's not the easiest house to have your ruling planet there. So there definitely can be some difficulties there. Because the person becomes, like I said, it's a weak ascendant, because the ascendant is only working 25%, being in the 12th house. So it can take away some of the vital energy of the person. The ruler of the ascendant is not connected to the ascendant by aspect. And so you'd also have to look at Uranus, the co-ruler, where that is in the chart. That would also play a role. Tonight I want to look at the chart of a very famous man, the President of the United States, Obama, and he has this combination. It's very interesting. It's a weak combination, and the last president also had it, Mr. Bush Jr. He also had the ruler of 1 and 12, and they were both I think they both had very difficult childhoods, so to speak, different kinds. Mr. Bush came from a very wealthy, rich family that stuck together, but he had a wild side. He had many years of hard drinking, and hard playing of the rich boy. He didn't take his studies seriously and stuff like that. And Obama also I guess came from the opposite, came from a broken family, didn't know who his father was, basically, and has all the problems of being a guy raised by a single mom, and and not knowing their father, and I'm sure it left a lot of scars on the man. And so they both had that difficult thing, and they each responded in a different way to their enemies. Mr. Bush, of course, wanted to defeat his enemies. He came from the the background that they raised him that he wanted to defeat his enemies. That's the 1 in 12. That's why he was elected, to defeat the enemies. And Obama, he has 1 in 12, but he also has Jupiter there, the planet of good fortune, the ruler of the 11th. Very interesting combination. Right? I should first of all mention another problem of having Saturn in honor in the 12th is that Saturn never leaves the 12th house, because it's in its own sign. If it's in the sign of another planet, it can give itself up to another planet, maybe it was in a better house. But when you have Saturn in the 12th, it never leaves it. He's always going to be in the 12th house. He's always going to be dealing with his enemies, the secret enemies that... a kid, when the parents break up, the kid always blames himself, and they got that hang up that they caused the breakup, and now they want to put things together their whole life and stuff like that. And he's a character who sort of wants to, if Bush came into the world to fight his enemies and defeat them, Obama came in to make peace with his enemies, to try to make peace. He's got, if you look at it, he's got Saturn in the 12th, the secret enemies, and his co-ruler in the 7th house, the open enemies. And his most of his time is dealing with that. If you look at his chart, it's interesting. He's got the ruler of the 11th and the 12th. And what does that mean? It means your friends, the 11th house, become your enemies. So because he's trying to make peace with his enemies, at the same time his friends are becoming his enemies. So it's a very, very unusual combination that he has there. The Jupiter lightens him up a little, that Saturn is way too heavy. And he's got that, he's got some Leo energy. He's got the Sun there in Leo. That's probably the best part of his chart. He's got the Sun in Leo, with the Mercury right on the 7th house cusp, great speaking ability as an orator, not as a debater, but as a speaker. He's pretty good. And he has Uranus there, and so it gives him some charisma. But on the whole, I don't particularly like the man's chart. If you look at it, he's got the ruler of the 10th and the 8th. So he's going to cause a lot of death. I've been predicting that since he got elected. He's going to try to make peace, but in the end he really hasn't been able to do much. The Arab world is, exploding, and he really hasn't, helped the cause of bringing peace to the Middle East, of bringing some kind of, he seems to have brought in the most radical groups in the world, came and took over, and are planning to take over more places in the Middle East. Well, he sits there and watches. And don't think it's only Israel that's upset by this. I wouldn't want to be Saudi Arabia and all these other rich oil countries. If Iran gets a nuclear bomb, they must be bombarding Obama day and night to do something about Iran and the radical Muslim takeovers. But in any case, Mr. Obama is the president, and we're just going to have to live with what he's going to do now. And but it's a very, very difficult combination, having that ruler of Saturn 1 and 12. And the ruler, it's a difficult combination. And I thank everybody for listening.